It's time for Fox and Friends.
All right, the report is done. The names are out. So now what? How will Major League Baseball and its players recover from the steroid era?
Well, joining us now from Atlanta is sports marketing expert Dave Sutton. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Greg.
Okay, what a lot of folks are predicting that attendance will go down next year, and also endorsement deals could dry up for major league players. Is that how you see it's going to go down? And what's baseball going to do to counteract that?
Yeah, Greg, I think that we're going to see certainly a certain amount of time that's going to need to go by for both Major League Baseball and for the named players to really earn back the trust of the fans. So I would expect that we would see season ticket sales going down a little bit. I also think that many of the major sponsors, brands like Budweiser, Holiday Inn, Bank of America, will be questioning the level of investment that they're going to be making in Major League Baseball next year. Yeah,
Dave, that's what I was going to ask you about, because a lot of endorsement deals, boy, it's really in the millions for some of these players, and some of these players already have those kinds of endorsement deals. What's going to happen with that? Will it be taken away from some of these players who have been named in this?
Well, I think, it's interesting when you're dealing with brands and product endorsements specifically from celebrities and professional athletes. Brands aren't necessarily won or lost based on the facts. It's a court based on perceptions. And unfortunately for many of these players, I do believe that major brands will question the validity of these endorsements. And I suspect that we'll see many endorsement contracts will be terminated for cause as a result of some of the actions of these players. Okay,
you're a marketing expert. You're familiar with the public relations game. Do you have any advice for these players or for Major League Baseball? I mean, how does baseball get back on its feet? Hope by next season, if that's possible.
Well, it'll be interesting to watch what happens in the early stages here. Most crisis management situations, as we're seeing this one unfold, the game is won or lost in the early innings. And I think in this case, it'll be very interesting to watch the actions of Major League Baseball, the Commissioner Bud Siegel himself, and how closely he follows the recommendations of the Mitchell Report. I think it'll be interesting to see how the Players Association actually responds and either supports or kind of acts as somewhat of a little bit of friction associated to the Commissioner's office. And then thirdly, how the players themselves actually deal with these allegations. I mean, if they are guilty, I think sometimes it's important to come forward, tell the truth, and really try to take control of the dialogue if you can.
I understand what you're saying, but look, I mean, Senator George Mitchell, the investigator in this, went on to say that he's discouraging any disciplinary action taken against the people that he's named. But Selig comes out and says he's going to take some action. But what action can he take?
Well, I think specifically he can, get out at the message that in many cases the players that are not taking performance-enhancing drugs are actually the real story here. I think to earn back the trust of the fans, he needs to stimulate some empathy from the fan base and recognize that the true victims in this crisis are all those players who, quite frankly, played by the rules.
Right.
So I think getting some very clear communication out into the fans, into the market, to define the fact that most players are not using these substances, and in fact they're the ones who have been hurt by this imbalance in the competitive playing field.
Well, some question about that. I mean, we had Jose Canseco on yesterday, and he said, look, this list doesn't even scratch the surface. There are hundreds more associated, but since they only had a limited number of witnesses, this is the best they can do. What do you predict? Do you see any major stars losing contracts right off the bat?
In terms of endorsement contracts?
Yes.
I suspect that there may be some, again, depending on the nature of the brand itself, how closely this particular crisis ties to the perception with that brand. Yeah. I'll give you a good example. If one of these athletes was endorsing a over-the-counter medicine, for example, or a pharmaceutical product, obviously there's going to be some clear action taken on the part of those brands to distance themselves and separate themselves from this the affiliation as much as possible.
I know there's some sports screens out there. I remember some stars in there. Well, Dave Sutton, we'll be watching very closely. All baseball fans will be. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Greg.